Hi there. Welcome to my live stream over here. Manny James Games is set up over here in my office. You can see this is my everyday thinking room. I sit down on my chair and think. I'm just kidding. You see back here, I got my two TVs mounted up on a wall. Those are 42 inches, my two PS4s. This is the first official live video for Manny James Games. I apologize for the lighting. It is bad. But, you know, I'm here for one reason and one reason alone. That is, of course, to put my prediction out there prior to the game, you know, on why the Eagles will be victorious in the Super Bowl. Right? But in the meantime, I'm going to give everybody a second to get going over here. Let me make sure all these proper channels are set up. There we go. Start streaming. Start the stream. Making sure that that's all good over here. If you join in, perfect, perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. To my lovely wife, Natalia, thank you for all the support. We will be victorious here today. Let me go ahead and make sure that everything's set up. I'm setting up right now my OBS software for my Facebook live stream. I also will do a different one for different streams. Let me see. Studio mode, transition. Perfect, perfect. I started learning a lot about this here today, teaching myself. So, of course, I have my Death Destroyer bracelet and Team Stillman. Rest in peace, my friend Jack. He passed away not too long ago. Great guy, father, you know, Army veteran. Incredible, incredible person. Fly Eagles fly, absolutely. It is a great day. I'm actually very positive here today. For one reason alone. Well, not just one reason. The reason is because the Eagles are going to win their first Super Bowl, you know, and I want to make sure I get this out there first so you guys do have a chance to get to watch it. I worked on some paperwork here tonight. I apologize, I do not have a teleprompter, so I can't sit here and project and read everything the way I'm supposed to be, but thank you all for joining. I really appreciate your support over here. Manny James Games is a brand and it is growing. So I am very, very appreciative. Oh, perfect. And my manager is here. You can put it right down. Perfect, perfect. That proper lighting. Okay. A little bit. Get that backdrop over here. Make sure this is all. Okay. Thank you. I love you. Let me make sure this is centered. Oh, there's my script. All right. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started over here. We do have a couple viewers. Everybody else could obviously go back and see the video. There is 3 reasons why the Philadelphia Eagles will emerge victorious today in Super Bowl 52. Okay. Number 1, we go ahead and say, because then it's not set. You don't need to. Just okay. 15 minutes. Perfect. Thank you, love. Appreciate it. That is my manager, everyone, Mrs. James Games. She was making sure that I'm set up over here properly. This is my very first live stream, as I mentioned here before. So I'm going to get down to the nitty gritty right now. Make sure we are all set up over here. Perfect. Excellent. I should have a camera and a stylus, you know, all that, get that going. That would be awesome. My stylist has brought me some water. Thank you, my lady. I appreciate that. Must remain hydrated. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 reasons why Philadelphia Eagles will win the Super Bowl here today. Number 1, now I get all of my information from reliable sources. I happen to use Pro Football Focus as my main source of information. And so these are all official. These are not just fabricated stats. These are not anything that I made up. These are just due diligence that I did myself. Okay, so the number one reason why Philadelphia win here today is going to be Philly's O-line. All right, Philly's O-line has actually been graded as the number one O-line in the NFL this year. Okay, I'll start off with the best lineman. Of course, we all know Jason Kelce, who is the center for the Eagles. He is rated this year 93.2 at blocking efficiency rate. Now he is tied. He's not tied actually. He's the sole owner of that. He was rated the number one line center in the league here this year. And the Philly front right side is also pretty impressive. Right next to him, we have a gentleman by the name of Brandon Brooks. He is a right guard. He was rated at 88.7, which was best for third in the league, which is pretty impressive. Now, right next to him was my favorite lineman right now. His name is Mr. Lane Johnson. He was rated 83.9, which is good for third best in the league this year as well. So, I mean, if you look at it, you got three of the top linemen on the right-hand side here for the year. So that is pretty impressive. Now, on the other side, we, of course, have Stefan Wazinski, who was a late fill-in. He didn't start till about week 6. So he got a late start on there. He was rated a 72.5. You know, and then Vitae, which was a second-year guy, was rated a 39.1, which is horrible. You know, he started off the season pretty bad. Everybody was saying he was a horrible lineman. Well, this last game, the NFC Championship, he was actually matched up against the number one sack artist in the NFL this year, Mr. Everson Griffin, who had 13.5 sacks this season. And my man, the left tackle, Vitae, only allowed one quarterback pressure and absolutely no sacks off Everson Griffin. So that is pretty impressive in itself, my friends. That's considering we lost Jason Peters, which was the number one left tackle in the league this year. And he was, before he got injured, Mr. Jason Peters was rated at 86.4, which was good for best in the league. So that's pretty impressive. You know, these guys are playing great football right there. You know, that blocking game has opened up the run-pass options, which are RPOs for short. You know, a lot of you are familiar with RPOs. That's where you run a lot of fakes. Now, the Eagles this year in the RPOs were pretty – actually, they were pretty average as far as consistency. They were only averaging 4.68 yards per RPO per play. So that basically means that they were middle of the pack of the league. It wasn't anything too crazy, anything too impressive. But the Eagles actually did run more RPOs than any other team in the league, 207. The league average RPOs was actually 66. So that was a very considerable difference in the number of RPOs. And, of course, that number went up since Philly lost their franchise quarterback and league-leading MVP at the time, Carson Wentz, to an ACL injury. So to have that kind of success, you know, it's pretty good. But the reason why I point that out is one big thing. The Patriots, during their AFC Championship 2 weeks ago, were actually gashed on the ground by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason why they were caught so off guard is because the Patriots haven't defended against RPOs all year long. Looking at the numbers for the Pats, they had only 14 RPOs ran on them throughout the entire season. Okay? And that is basically the 7th fewest in the league. So they had only 6 other teams had less RPOs ran on them. Okay? And, of course, you know, that's a strength for the Eagles. So I think that gives a check to the first point. Now, the second point that I would say that, or the reason why the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl is going to be their defense. Now, I'm going to start off with what we all know. It is that defensive line unit, right? We have 7 players in the top 20 for quarterback pressures this year. No other team has more effective pass rushers in the Philadelphia Eagles. 7 players in the top 20, okay? Those players are going to be Fletcher Cox, all-pro D-tackle, you know, Brandon Graham, all-pro DN. You know, you have Timmy Jernigan, who's been a stud this year. He was a trade pickup. We also have Vinny Curry, who's been solid. We all know the rookie Derek Barnett. He was actually the Tennessee sack leader. He holds a school record for last year when he got drafted. He had 34. The previous record was held by none other than the Minister of Defense, Mr. Reggie White, for 33. That was the record before. Mr. Derek Barnett smashed that record in his senior year. Obviously, Clemson, going to the national championship. So, I mean, they did an excellent, stellar job, So he was their number one D lineman. So he's been very impressive. Of course, we added Chris Long, Howie Long, son Super Bowl winner last year. He's been an excellent free agent pickup because he has just been great all season. Strip sacks, crucial times. I mean, it doesn't get any better than picking up a free agent that immediately jumps on your team and makes an impact. So I will tell you this defensive line was actually the best in NFL in pressure rates. We averaged 41.3%. So that was the actual pressure rate in the NFL. We were good for best in the NFL. And then our hit rate on a quarterback was 38.6%. That basically means that, on those rushes, we got hit on a quarterback and made him, threw him to the ground or whatever the case may be. So we all know over the course of a football game, a quarterback hit rate can take its toll. If you have a quarterback that's taking a beating, it could also destroy morale. We all know Tom Brady doesn't like to get hit. So you will see some flags. You will see some tempers. I mean, because at the end of the day, I do not expect it to be that fair of a game. I think the Eagles will win. I just think the Patriots will get some, questionable calls today. Now, in Tom Brady's career, over the last 7 Super Bowls, he has won 5 out of 7, right? In those 5 victories, the defensive pressure rate on the quarterbacks had been 27.6, 38.8, 28.1, 31.4, and 30%. Okay, that basically means that they were rushing Tom Brady. The highest was 38.8%, and he won. Now, you want to know what those pressure rates were when he lost the games? Okay, I'll tell you. It was 43.4% and 46.5%. Those were both obviously by the New York Giants, Michael Strahan, which we all know and love. All the New York fans. He was a great DN. But those 2 games, they blitzed him over 40% of the time. Okay. And so obviously the key to success is right there in the defensive pressure, Now, the Eagles had 41.3% this year, which obviously was best in the NFL. And you know how they did this? The question is, how did the Eagles achieve such a high pressure rate? And the answer is very simple. They did it by not sending more than 4 rushes to the quarterback. The Eagles rarely ever blitzed this year. They actually sorry, I lost my note over here. They always sent a 4-man front. Everybody was dropped off in coverage or in zone or whatever the case may be. But those 4 defensive linemen put so much pressure on the quarterback that the Eagles rarely need to send an extra linebacker or an extra DB. They did send it. I'm not saying they didn't do it because you have to keep things mixed up. You have to keep people honest and on their toes. But the Eagles do have the number 1 pressure rate. Now, another reason why the Eagles will say defense is one of the keys to victory here today is the secondary. Now, we've had an up and down season. We've had a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of people tell us that we were, one of the worst secondaries in the league. And 1 year ago, that was the case. 1 year ago, we were 29th worst. We were the worst in the league just about in allowing pass yards and getting beat deep. We had Kerry Williams and Bradley and Bobby Fletcher. We had these horrible DBs. Well, that was the year before, but last year we were still transitioning off those horrible DBs. And the Eagles themselves went out and we picked up a couple players. We of course traded for Ronald Darby from the Buffalo Bills. We traded Jordan Matthews for him because we had a surplus of wide receivers. Ronald Darby was injured week 1. He got injured, was out for at least 10 weeks. Came back. He's been pretty strong. Now, of course, the number 1 hero in that secondary is a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Jenkins, number 27. Malcolm Jenkins was, of course, one of the top 3 safeties in the league. I mean, he plays at a high level. He plays multiple positions, whether it's deep, close, sending on the blitz. He plays a slot. Malcolm Jenkins is basically our Charles Woodson of the Green Bay Packers. Like, the guy could play any position in the secondary. So he's one of the smartest players in the league, one of the most vocal players in the league, and definitely the backbone behind the secondary. Now, it helps to have great supporting cast. I mean, the strong safety, Rodney McLeod, is a great pickup. We got him from the Rams a couple years ago. He's a pretty strong safety. We also have a cornerback, which I love. His name is Jalen Mills. I mean, the guy has had an impressive season so far. Like, he played decent during the regular season. What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for joining, Adrian, Trevor. I appreciate you guys. You know, I always appreciate all the fans over here. You know, I got to make sure this grows. But back to where I was at. Of course, Jalen Mills this year has been so devout and reliable, especially in the playoffs. I mean, the AFC, sorry, I'm getting confused. The NFC wildcard game, it was us versus the Falcons. The last play of the game came down to Julio Jones going up against Jalen Mills in the end zone, and Jalen Mills put pressure on him. He bumped him. He made sure that he made Julio's life off rhythm and made it hell for him, so that when he did get that look on the play, he wasn't going to succeed. And that's what happened. I mean, Julio went up for the ball, slipped through his hands. He came down out of bounds. So either way, it wouldn't have been a good result for Julio Jones over here. But Jalen Mills ended up shutting him down over there. I mean, the guy has had an impressive playoff push. Just in this playoffs alone, he's averaging an average of 0.21 yards per coverage snap, okay, in the playoffs. This is not regular season. Forget what he did in the regular season. I mean, he had flashes of greatness. He had 6 picks in the regular season. And the guy also gave up some big touchdowns, you know, so he's had some growing pains, and it hasn't been easy. But that mark for 0.21 yards allowed per snap in coverage is actually the 3rd best mark ever recorded in postseason history. That means if he continues to be as dominant as he has, there has only been 2 other cornerbacks in the entire history of the playoffs do better than he has. So, I mean, the guy has had an impressive debut. And, of course, he might be the guy guarding the Gronk today, okay? Now, another guy that is going unsung is Patrick Robinson. I mean, that guy was a free agent acquisition. We covered him in the offseason. I mean, the guy ended up freaking signing with us for like $2 million. So he wasn't really a sought-after free agent. But what Eagles ended up doing is they converted him from an outside guy, which Indianapolis tried to run him at, and actually have him play the corner, the slot position. Now, at the slot this year, Patrick Robinson has been the #1 cornerback. Okay? The #1 cornerback. He's allowed the third worst passer rating against him, an average of 55.1% catch rate against him. That's good for the 3rd best in the league. I mean, the guy has seriously been stout in the corner, right? On top of that, you know, he's going up against the 5th best cornerback. Everybody talks about Danny Amendola. Well, we got the rest from Danny Amendola. How you stop Danny Amendola? You get a good corner to guard him. You know, he hasn't been that good until the postseason. Let's be honest. You know, the teams that the Patriots have faced in the postseason haven't really been that impressive, with the exception of the Jaguars. You know, and they were impressive defensively. What they do on offense, not so much. Okay, but yeah, that's Mr. Patrick Robinson is a great free agent. Obviously, we're going to lose him after this year, but I mean, that'll be for another segment. Now, the 3rd reason why the Eagles are going to win this Super Bowl, my friends, is 2 words: Nick Foles. I know some of you thinking, oh, Nick Foles this, Nick Foles that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Nick Foles this year in the regular season, his regular season passer rating hasn't been impressive. It's been a 79.5. Okay, his percentage of catch rate, like catchable balls, has been 66.3%, and the yards per attempt this season had been 5.3. Ouch, 79.5. I don't know about you. That's not really a starting quarterback I really want to see in the Super Bowl. It's pretty average. It's not the worst, but it's definitely nowhere near the top either. Now, let me tell you what his postseason stats have been. His postseason passer rating has been 121.1. Okay, with a percentage of catchable balls has been 88.1%. Right now, his yards per attempt are 9.5. So Nick Foles goes from throwing 5.3 yards per play, and he's throwing 9.5 now. He goes 66% of catchable balls, now 84%. Okay, and passer rating goes up 50 points. Now, you telling me this guy isn't playing the best football of his career? Okay, I can honestly tell you that he has been. And this is coming from a guy who threw 7 touchdown passes in one game back in like 2013. It was against the Raiders. I mean, whoever you want to say, there's only been one other guy in history that's thrown 7 touchdown passes, only like 5 guys that have done 6. So, I mean, it's not something that everybody can do. So Nick Foles himself, let me just tell you about last week, the NFC or 2 weeks ago, the NFC Championship game. All right, in 12 years of Pro Football Focus, which is the website I use for all my information, in 12 years for all the playoff and Super Bowl games, okay, Nick Foles has had the 5th best football. Sorry, I can't even speak. Nick Foles has had the 5th highest grade of any quarterback in a playoff history as far as Pro Football QBR. I mean, his overall grade has been a 92.9. Just last week alone versus the Vikings. There's only been 5 other players in NFL history with better efficiencies. 4 other players in NFL history with better efficiency. I mean, he has elite company around him. I mean, he has Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady's in there as well. I mean, these guys aren't slouches. Nick Foles has the 5th best game of playoff history last week versus the Vikings. Now, so you're taking this guy who nobody wanted before the season. We picked him up via free agency, came back to Philly, because of the fans, because he loves the Philly fans. He ends up taking over for an injured quarterback, our MVP quarterback. Week 14, wins that game, wins the next 2 out of 3. I mean, the guy comes in, people doubt him, and then he ends up playing the best football of his career. So the final reason, as I said, is Nick Foles, and that's the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles will win the Super Bowl. Now, of course, I want to keep this video kind of short. I don't want to make it too long, so I'm obviously going to finish today's note on an Eagles fight chant for all my fans out there, all my fellow Eagles fans, right? And all of you out there, even if you're singing to yourself, you can sing with me. I don't care. So 3, 1, 2, 3. Fly, Eagles, fly, on our road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight, score a touchdown. 1, 2, 3, hit 'em low, hit 'em high. Watch our Eagles fly, fly, Eagles, fly, on our road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. To all my fans out there, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. James Gaines. I really appreciate you. I'm going to be sharing this, of course. I just wanted to get this out there before the Super Bowl happened. Thank you for everybody that has joined here today. Big Dick Nick. Oh, yes. I wanted to keep it PG for my young viewers out there, keep their young minds at bay. But thank you very much to all of you that have joined my stream here today. And I hope you all enjoy the game as much as I do. Manny James Games out. I'll see you next time.